I'm Steve, and let me ask you something. How well do you actually know Florida? Not the beaches, not the theme parks, not the headlines. I mean the Florida underneath all of that. Because beneath the surface of the most visited state in the country is a piece of African crust that has been sitting there for 200 million years. A lake that periodically vanishes underground without warning. A river so packed with Ice Age fossils that people pull out mastodon teeth with their bare hands. And a civilization that built entire islands out of shells, islands that are still standing today. Nobody talks about this Florida. That ends now. Let's get into it. Start with the ground beneath Florida itself, because it is not what it should be. When geologists mapped the deep basement rock underlying the Florida Peninsula, they found something that did not match the surrounding geology of North America at all. The ancient crystalline basement beneath Florida is geologically related to rock found in West Africa, a fragment of the African continent that was left behind when the supercontinent Pangaea began splitting apart roughly 200 million years ago. As the Atlantic Ocean opened and Africa moved east, this piece stayed behind, was buried under hundreds of millions of years of marine sediment, and became the invisible foundation of the Florida Peninsula. Florida is literally built on a piece of Africa. Almost nobody knows this. Lake Jackson near Tallahassee has a behavior that defies expectation. This is a lake covering roughly 4,000 acres, large enough to support a significant bass fishery, ringed with homes and recreational facilities. And periodically, without warning, it simply drains. A sinkhole opens in the lake bed. The water pours underground through the karst limestone beneath, and the lake disappears. Not gradually, not over years, within weeks. Fish are left stranded. Boats sit on exposed mud. The lake floor becomes walkable. Then, over months, rainfall refills the basin, and the lake returns as if nothing happened. It has drained completely at least 5 times in recorded history. People build lakefront property on Lake Jackson knowing this. The lake comes back. It always has, so far. The Peace River flowing through central Florida is one of the most fossil-rich waterways in North America, and possibly the world, for what it produces. Fossils of mastodons, giant ground sloths, early horses, saber-toothed cats, giant armadillos, and dozens of other Pleistocene megafauna wash out of the riverbanks continuously, exposed by erosion and carried downstream to where they settle in gravel bars. People wade the river with mesh bags and pull out Ice Age teeth and bones that the current delivered fresh. The concentration of fossils is so extraordinary that amateur collectors have found specimens of scientific significance. The Peace River is not just a river, it is a moving archive of an entire lost world. Venice Beach on Florida's Gulf Coast is known as the shark-tooth capital of the world, and for good reason. The same fossil-rich geology that fills the Peace River extends to the offshore sediments, and every tide cycle delivers ancient shark teeth to the beach, not recent ones. These are mostly teeth from Megalodon and its relatives, ranging from 5 to 25 million years old, deposited when Florida was seafloor, and these animals were hunting above it. On any given morning after a good wave, people walk Venice Beach with mesh scoops, finding teeth the size of a hand. Florida's beaches are littered with the remains of the largest predatory fish that ever existed. I personally think the story of the Calusa people is one of the most extraordinary and least told in American history. The Calusa civilization inhabited the southwestern coast of Florida for thousands of years before European contact, and they built their world from the sea, literally. Over centuries, the Calusa constructed massive shell middens, accumulations of discarded oyster and conch shells that grew so large they became islands. Mound Key in Estero Bay, once the capital of the Calusa domain, is an island built almost entirely from shells. It rises 12 feet above the water and covers 125 acres. The Calusa did not find an island and settle it. They built one from the remains of their meals and made it the center of a civilization that dominated southern Florida for over 1,000 years. Drop a comment right now telling me which Florida fact surprised you most so far. I read every single one, and this channel genuinely runs on those responses. The Fakahatchee Strand Preserve State Park in the Big Cypress area of southwest Florida is sometimes called the Amazon of North America, and the comparison is not exaggerated. It contains the largest concentration of native royal palms in the United States, the largest concentration of native orchid species in North America, and the only place in the world where native pop ash and bald cypress trees grow together in a strand swamp. Wild vanilla orchids grow here, the only place in North America where vanilla grows natively. The ghost orchid, one of the rarest and most mysterious plants in the world, lives in the Fakahatchee. Rootless, leafless, almost entirely invisible when not in bloom, it depends entirely on a single species of moth for pollination. The ghost orchid exists in perhaps a dozen other locations. The Fakahatchee is where it is most likely to be found, and it is still almost never seen. The Florida scrub is an ecosystem older than the Everglades, a relic landscape of white sand, dwarf oaks, and highly specialized plants that evolved when Florida was a chain of sandy islands surrounded by shallow seas during higher sea level periods. The scrub is ancient, biologically distinct, and nearly gone. Over 85% of it has been converted to agriculture or development. The Florida scrub jay, which lives only in this ecosystem and nowhere else on Earth, cannot survive outside it. The bird does not migrate, cannot cross unsuitable habitat, and is entirely dependent on a landscape that is disappearing faster than most people realize. In 1992, Hurricane Andrew tore through South Florida with winds exceeding 165 miles per hour, becoming at the time the most destructive hurricane in American history. The destruction was catastrophic, but in the weeks after the storm, something unexpected happened. In the areas where Andrew had stripped the vegetation down to bare ground, researchers found exposed evidence of ancient human settlements, soil stains, post holes, and artifacts that had been buried under centuries of plant growth. A hurricane revealed an archaeological record that had been invisible for generations. The most destructive storm in Florida's modern history inadvertently became one of its most significant archaeological events. The Apalachicola River in the Florida Panhandle drains the largest watershed of any river in Florida and carries cold, clear Appalachian water down from Georgia and Alabama. What makes it biologically extraordinary is what lives in it. The Apalachicola harbors more species of freshwater turtles than anywhere outside Southeast Asia, more species of freshwater snails than exist in all of Europe. An entire suite of endemic species found nowhere else on Earth evolved in isolation in this single river system. The Panhandle of Florida looks like an afterthought on the map. Biologically, it is one of the most significant river systems in the Western Hemisphere. The Ocala National Forest in north-central Florida contains the largest sandpine scrub forest in the world. Sandpine is a species that has adapted to grow in the driest, most nutrient-poor sand soils of the Florida scrub, and the Ocala Forest represents the largest remaining expanse of the ecosystem that once covered much of central Florida before development. Within it are hundreds of springs, including Silver Springs, one of the largest artesian spring systems in the world, where water pressure from the Floridan aquifer forces crystal-clear water to the surface with enough force to push it upward without pumping. The Bimini Road sits about 18 feet beneath the surface off the coast of North Bimini in the Bahamas, technically outside Florida, but so deeply connected to Florida's geological story that it belongs here. A formation of large, flat limestone blocks arranged in an apparent J-shape was discovered by divers in 1968. Some researchers have argued it is a man-made structure of extraordinary age. Most geologists classify it as a natural beach rock formation created by wave action. The debate has never fully resolved, partly because the underwater limestone geology of the entire Florida-Bahamas platform is so complex and so poorly understood that distinguishing natural from artificial formation in this environment is genuinely difficult. The blocks are real. Their origin is still contested. Florida's geology makes that ambiguity possible. This is what stays with me about Florida. The state that most people think they know completely because of the theme parks, the beaches, the headlines, is actually one of the least understood landscapes in North America. African crust beneath it. A lake that drains and refills. Shell islands built by a civilization most Americans have never heard of. The ghost orchid in a swamp that barely exists. Ancient shark teeth washing up with the morning tide. Florida is not a simple place. It never was. The limestone underneath it has been hiding things for millions of years, and it is not finished yet. Which fact got you? Drop it in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you think I missed something, tell me, because your comments shape what we cover next. If wild, real geography is your thing, subscribe to Wild States Facts, where I am covering every state, one wild fact at a time. See you in the next one.